Ladies and gentlemen, give yourself 6 months of relentless focus and everything can begin to shift. This isn't a slogan or a catchy phrase. It's a challenge, a personal contract, a battle cry to push yourself further than you ever have before. 6 months of complete and ruthless discipline. Not dipping your toes in commitment, but diving in head first with no lifeline, no retreat, and no second guessing. This kind of focused energy doesn't come from feeling inspired one random morning. It comes from a decision, a firm and final decision that says enough is enough. You get tired of being in the same place, tired of waking up with regret, tired of knowing deep down that you're capable of more but not living it. That's when this level of focus is born, from the tension between where you are and where you know you could be. Imagine what your life could look like if you shut down the noise for just 6 months. No distractions, no self-pity, no wasted time. You stop watching what everyone else is doing and start building what you've always wanted. You give up trying to impress people and start trying to impress yourself. This is the kind of focus that doesn't ask, it demands. It demands you say no when everyone else is saying yes. It demands you rise early, even when your body wants to rest. It demands you face your insecurities, your bad habits, and your laziness, and stare them down until they break. Focus like this becomes a force that moves through your entire being, changing the way you think, speak, act, and see the world. People talk about miracles, about breakthroughs, about sudden success. But the truth is, most miracles are hidden in ordinary, painful, consistent effort. That gym session you almost skipped, that book you read when you could have scrolled, that business move you made when fear told you to wait. These aren't big, dramatic actions, but when repeated with laser-like focus every single day for 6 months, they become unstoppable. You become unstoppable. You begin to realize how much time you used to waste. You realize how much power you gave to distractions that didn't deserve a second of your attention. You stop blaming the world, the system, your background, or your past. You accept that your focus is your responsibility. And once you take that responsibility fully, without excuses, you become dangerous. This kind of focus doesn't make life easier. In fact, it will make it harder for a while. Friends might not understand. You'll miss out on parties, events, and the comfort of your old patterns. You'll feel isolated at times, exhausted at others. You might question if it's worth it. But the vision in your head will keep pushing you. The image of the future you, the one who doesn't settle, the one who doesn't need to explain their greatness because it's obvious. That image will drive you when motivation dies, and it will die. Motivation is a spark, not a flame. But focus is fire, real, sustaining, wild, and consuming. And when you feed that fire for 6 straight months, it doesn't just burn. It transforms. Most people will never give themselves 6 months. They'll give themselves excuses. They'll give themselves stories. They'll give themselves more time to wait. But not you. You make the decision to go all in, to turn the page on the old version of yourself and write a new one with action. You realize that time is moving whether you act or not. So you choose to act. And not tomorrow, not when you're ready, now, because focus isn't a feeling, it's a choice. A hard one, but the most powerful one you'll ever make. And 6 months from now, when you look back at what you've built, what you've become, and how far you've come, you'll realize it wasn't luck, it wasn't chance, it was the price you paid with pure, relentless focus. Waiting for the perfect moment to act is the greatest lie we tell ourselves. We convince ourselves that once we feel more motivated, more prepared, more confident, then we'll start. But that moment rarely comes because action doesn't follow motivation. Motivation follows action. The moment you stop waiting and start moving, something powerful happens inside you. You realize that clarity and confidence are earned in motion, not in stillness. Every time you take a small step forward, no matter how uncertain or uncomfortable, you gain momentum. That momentum starts to push you forward even when your mind tells you to stop. Waiting feels safe. It feels comfortable, but it's just disguised fear. Fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of change. And the longer you wait, the heavier that fear becomes. It roots itself in your mind and paralyzes your potential. Most people are stuck not because they lack ability, but because they're addicted to waiting. Waiting for signs, waiting for encouragement, waiting for the pain to go away. But nothing changes until you decide to act in spite of fear, in spite of doubt, in spite of not having all the answers. You don't need to see the entire path. You only need to take the next step. One step. That's how everything starts. That's how 6 months of transformation begins. Not with a plan so perfect that failure is impossible, but with a willingness to do something today, no matter how small, that your future self will thank you for. Action is a signal to your brain that you're serious. It tells your system, we're moving. We're not waiting anymore. That internal shift creates external results. And over time, the compound effect of those consistent, courageous actions builds a version of you that used to feel impossible. It's not about doing everything right. It's about doing something every single day. Show up, try, fail, learn, adapt, keep moving. That's the difference between those who change and those who only wish they could. There is no perfect moment. There is only this one. And this moment is enough. If you decide it is. Don't wait, build. Don't hope, do. Don't scroll for inspiration. Become it. Your life doesn't need more delays. It needs more decisions. So stop negotiating with procrastination and start making progress. The time is going to pass either way. Make sure it's working in your favor, not against you. Transformation is rarely loud. It's not always visible in the beginning. That's why you have to commit in silence, let your results make the noise later. The more quietly you move, the more focused you become, the less you talk about what you're going to do, the more power you give to actually doing it. There's strength in silence, a strength most people will never understand because they crave attention before they've earned achievement. But real change isn't performative, it's personal. It happens behind closed doors, in the early mornings, in the late nights, when no one's watching, when it's just you and the work. The silence is where your identity shifts, where your character is built, where your discipline is forged. You stop needing validation from others because you start validating yourself through effort. You don't need likes. You don't need applause. You need consistency. You need self-respect. And that only comes from doing the work when it's hard, when it's lonely, when it's invisible. And you go 6 months locked in, fully focused, eyes on your goal, no distractions, you emerge with results that don't require explanations. You no longer need to prove yourself because your life becomes the proof. People may ask where you went, why you're so quiet, why you disappeared. Let them wonder, let them doubt. Let them talk, because while they're talking, you're working. While they're watching, you're building. And soon, they won't be asking what happened to you. They'll be asking how you did it. But you'll know. It was the silence, the focus, the grind they never saw, the effort they couldn't understand. You chose the quiet. You chose the work. And now, the results will choose you. Discomfort is not your enemy, it's your doorway. The moment you start to embrace discomfort instead of running from it, you begin to unlock the parts of yourself you never knew existed. Growth doesn't live in your comfort zone. That's where dreams die. That's where potential goes unnoticed. Every goal you've set, every version of yourself you admire, every success story you've ever heard, none of it came from staying comfortable. It came from stepping into the unknown, facing uncertainty, and pushing through resistance. Discomfort is the alarm clock of transformation. It wakes you up to the truth that you can be more, do more, and endure more than you ever thought possible. But most people silence that alarm. They press snooze on their future every time things get hard. They run back to ease, to familiarity, to habits that numb rather than build. But comfort never changed anyone, only challenge does. Every time you choose discomfort, you tell your future that you're serious. You tell your body, we're leveling up. You tell your mind, I'm stronger than my excuses. That discomfort might look like waking up before sunrise, saying no to old habits, facing your fears head on, or sticking to a routine when you feel like quitting. Whatever form it takes, it's your sign that you're in the right place. The discomfort is the signal, not the stop sign. Too many people misinterpret the pain of growth as failure, but it's the opposite. The pain is proof. It means you're breaking patterns. It means you're shifting from what was to what could be. And yes, it's hard, but being stuck is harder. Living a life of regret is harder. Living up 10 years from now in the same place with the same complaints, that's the real pain. And that's the one you can avoid by embracing the temporary struggle. Your body wants ease. Your mind wants safety, but your soul craves expansion. It knows you weren't built to live a small, repetitive life. You were built to grow, to stretch, to evolve. And growth only happens when you lean into resistance. It's like lifting weights. You don't build muscle by doing what's easy. You build it by pushing against the resistance until your body has no choice but to adapt. And the same applies to your mindset, your habits, your goals. Discomfort is your mental gym. Every time you step into it, you get sharper, tougher, more unshakable. And the best part, it compounds. What was once difficult becomes your new normal. That early morning that felt brutal becomes your routine. That discipline that felt impossible becomes automatic. But only if you're willing to stay in the fire long enough to let it shape you. The world tells you to avoid pain, avoid discomfort, avoid anything that stretches you. But that's a trap. Because what you avoid today becomes the limitation you live with tomorrow. If you want freedom, face the discomfort now. Walk straight into it. Feel the resistance and do it anyway. Let it teach you. Let it test you. Let it transform you. The greatest version of yourself is on the other side of hard things. Every time you conquer something uncomfortable, you rise above who you were yesterday. You earn confidence, not from praise, but from perseverance, from knowing you did what you said you would do, even when it sucked, especially when it sucked. There's no shortcut, no hack, no easy way through. It's you versus the part of you that wants to stay safe. And that battle happens every day, in the choices you make, in the thoughts you allow, in the actions you take. Do you run or do you rise? Do you numb or do you feel? Do you quit or do you push? Discomfort is asking. Your answer will determine everything. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to grow. You either embrace the challenge or you remain the same. And 6 months of choosing discomfort over ease, 6 months of showing up no matter how you feel, 6 months of pushing when it's tough, that's how you build a life that's unrecognizable from the one you're in right now. Because growth doesn't just happen, it's earned through everything you were once afraid to face. There will be moments in your journey when quitting feels easier than continuing, when everything in you screams for comfort, for rest, for escape, when the path gets dark and the progress feels invisible and your old life whispers to come back because it's familiar, because it's easy, because it's safe. But that's exactly when the transformation begins. It begins at the breaking point, the point where most people give up. The point where it hurts, where it's messy, where it's quiet and no one's clapping. This is the place where your future is decided, not in the highlights, not in the victories, but in the unseen battles where you choose to keep going when everything says stop. Temptation doesn't come in dramatic moments. It shows up quietly. It shows up in the decision to skip one day of discipline, to tell yourself just this once. When you know it leads back to old patterns, it disguises itself as logic, as rest, as reason. It tells you you're doing too much, that you deserve a break, that no one's watching so it won't matter. But every time you give in to that voice, you're not just pausing your progress, you're strengthening your excuses. You're feeding the part of you that wants to stay small and starving the part of you that's fighting to break through. It's in those tiny, seemingly harmless moments that your direction is determined. You either move closer to the life you want, or you slip back into the one you said you were done with. You have to expect the pull of your past to resurface. The old habits, the old cravings, the old rhythms, they don't die quietly. They will come for you, especially when you're tired, especially when progress feels slow. But this time is different. This time, you recognize them for what they are. Distractions in disguise. You remind yourself of the pain you felt living in that old cycle. You remember the frustration, the regret, the heaviness of settling for less. And you use that as fuel. You tell yourself, I didn't come this far to go back. That mindset becomes your shield. It becomes your armor when life starts pushing back. There will be days you don't feel strong, days you don't feel motivated, days when you question if any of it is worth it. Those are the most important days to show up, because anyone can work when it's easy. Anyone can chase their goals when energy is high and the path is clear. But the ones who make it, the ones who change everything, are the ones who move forward when their legs shake, when the doubt is loud, when the only thing keeping them going is a quiet promise they made to themselves when they started. That promise has power. That commitment becomes a compass. It reminds you that the emotions of the moment are not more important than the vision of your future. You have to become the kind of person who finishes what they start. Not because it's easy, not because you always feel like it, but because it's who you are now. You are no longer available for quitting, no longer entertaining the idea of giving up. You've seen what that leads to, and you're done living that story. The moment you decided to change your life, you took on a new identity, someone who follows through, someone who doesn't just dream big but acts boldly, someone who keeps showing up no matter what. And every day you hold that line, every day you deny the old pattern and choose the new path, you're rewriting who you are. The voice that tells you to give up will always be there, but so will the voice that says, keep going. You're almost there. You're becoming something new. The difference is which one you choose to listen to. The more you resist the urge to quit, the quieter that old voice becomes, until one day you wake up and it's gone. Not because the temptation disappeared, but because you finally became someone stronger than it. Someone who didn't just talk about change, but lived it, earned it, fought for it when no one else was watching, and that's what makes all the difference. Every single day is a new opportunity to take one more step toward the life you want. It's not about making huge, dramatic changes overnight. It's about stacking small wins until they create undeniable transformation. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you act with intention instead of emotion, you're laying a brick in the foundation of the future you're building. And it's those bricks placed one on top of the other, day after day, that create something strong, unshakable, and real. You don't need to accomplish everything at once. You just need to make today count. Then make tomorrow count, and keep going. That's how empires are built. Quietly, consistently, one choice at a time. People often underestimate the power of what they do daily. They focus on the big moves, the breakthroughs, the highlights, the moments of recognition. But what really creates change is what you do when no one's watching. The morning you decide to wake up and move your body instead of sleeping in. the hour you spend reading instead of scrolling, the time you take to plan your day, prioritize your goals, and stay aligned with your vision. These aren't dramatic moments, but they're everything. They shape your mindset. They form your habits. They shift your identity. And identity is what determines your destiny. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your systems. Your life will reflect what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally feel inspired to do. So many people are chasing intensity when they should be chasing consistency. They want to change their life with one grand act. But real change comes from doing the small things well repeatedly, without applause. It comes from being the kind of person who honors their word even when no one is around to see it. The work is often boring, it's repetitive, it feels like it's not doing anything, but that's the test. That's where most people quit. They don't see instant results, so they stop showing up. But those who stay committed through the silence, the invisible grind, are the ones who break through, because they understand that every discipline choice, no matter how small, compounds. And over time, those tiny efforts transform your entire life. Think of each day as a chance to cast a vote for the person you want to become. When you choose to follow your routine, when you resist temptation, when you focus on growth, you're casting a vote for the future version of yourself. And it's not about being perfect. You'll slip, you'll stumble, you'll have off days. That's part of the process. But the key is to never stop voting. Never stop stacking those bricks, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because those are the days that count the most. Those are the days when the gap between the old you and the new you starts to close. It's also important to remember that you don't need to feel like doing the work to do the work. Action isn't a reward for motivation, it's the requirement for progress. Your feelings will come and go. Some days you'll feel powerful, other days you'll feel empty, but discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline only asks, will you show up anyway? And when you say yes, even when everything in you wants to say no, you strengthen something far more powerful than motivation. You strengthen your character. You are building something that will outlast temporary emotions. You're building a future that will thank you for every hard decision you made today. When you choose discipline over ease, growth over comfort, focus over distraction, you're not just working toward a goal, you're becoming someone new. And that new identity will carry you through the seasons where motivation fades. The daily work is not glamorous. No one may notice. But that's what makes it powerful. It's a silent contract between you and your future, paid one small choice at a time. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lacked potential. They fail because they lack consistency. They stopped laying bricks. They gave up when the progress wasn't obvious. Don't be one of them. Be the one who keeps going. Be the one who stacks bricks day after day, quietly, intentionally, until one day the structure of your life looks completely different. Not because of one massive action, but because of 1,000 small ones that no one ever saw. The world is full of noise, notifications, opinions, endless distractions that pull you in 100 directions. But if you're serious about changing your life, you have to get serious about what you allow into your mind, your time, and your energy. You need to start saying no more often. No to mindless scrolling, no to conversations that go nowhere, no to invitations that don't serve your growth, no to habits that keep you stuck. And saying no isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's taking your power back from everything that doesn't contribute to the person you're becoming, and that version of you, the disciplined, focused, unrecognizable version, can't be built in a life cluttered with distractions. You need space. You need clarity. You need to protect your priorities like your future depends on it, because it does. It starts with awareness. You have to look at where your time goes, where your energy leaks, what you give your attention to. Every day you're making trades. Every scroll, every conversation, every yes to someone else's urgency is a no to your own purpose. Once you become aware of that, you start living differently. You start filtering everything through a different lens. Does this serve my growth? If it doesn't, it goes. Not because you're better than others, but because your time is too valuable to waste. Not because you're cold, but because you're committed. That kind of ruthless focus isn't selfish, it's necessary. Because when you learn to say no to the things that don't matter, you create room to say yes to the things that do. Yes to deep work, yes to learning, yes to pushing your limits, yes to your goals, yes to the routine that builds you, yes to rest that actually recharges you, yes to becoming the kind of person who doesn't just talk about change, but lives it daily. That version of you doesn't have time for meaningless distractions. They're too busy building, creating, evolving. They've learned the power of protecting their time and guarding their energy because they've tasted what it's like to be laser focused and they never want to go back. Saying yes to purpose also means embracing structure. You start designing your life around what matters most. You create a routine not to limit yourself, but to free yourself. Freedom isn't the absence of discipline, it's the result of it. When your days have structure, your mind has space. You stop waking up in chaos. You stop reacting to everything and start responding with intention. You're not bouncing between distractions. You're locked in on your mission. And that consistency starts to compound. Your time starts working for you. You're getting more done with less stress because you're no longer spending your energy on things that drain you. It's not easy to live like this. It takes effort to cut out the noise. It takes strength to say no to comfort, to delay gratification, to ignore the crowd and stay in your lane. But that's the price of elevation. You can't carry everything and expect to rise. You have to let go of what weighs you down. Some of it will be habits, some of it will be people, some of it will be versions of yourself you've outgrown. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Growth always is. But comfort is the silent killer of potential. It lulls you into settling, into existing instead of living, into wasting time on things that don't move you forward. When you start saying yes to purpose, your life starts to shift. You're no longer busy, you're productive. You're no longer overwhelmed, you're intentional. You're no longer chasing everything. You're focused on what truly matters. And people will notice, some will admire it, others will question it. But it doesn't matter because this journey isn't for them, it's for you. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to grow, to evolve, to build a life that feels good on the inside, not just looks good on the outside. That kind of clarity only comes when you remove the noise, when you stop living on autopilot and start taking control, when you realize that every no to distraction is a yes to your purpose, and when you start choosing that every single day, you stop hoping for change and start becoming the reason it happens. You don't need a miracle. You don't need a breakthrough. You don't even need luck. What you need is discipline. Discipline is the missing piece between where you are and where you want to be. It's not exciting. It's not flashy. And it doesn't always feel good, but it works. It's the force that pulls you forward when motivation dies, when emotions take over, and when your goals feel far away. Discipline is the quiet strength that shows up when no one is cheering for you, when no one is watching, and when the only thing pushing you is the vision of the life you refuse to settle without. It's not talent that separates the successful. It's discipline. It's the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Most people rely on feelings to determine their actions. They wait to feel inspired before they start. They wait to feel ready before they move. But the truth is, You'll never always feel ready. Some days you'll feel drained. Some days you'll feel lost. Some days you'll question everything. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. It cares about what you decide. It's the decision to show up anyway, to push through the resistance, to do the reps, to keep your promises to yourself, even when it would be easier to quit. That's where the real growth happens. Not when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. Not when it's exciting, but when it's hard, boring, repetitive, and thankless. Discipline keeps you grounded when your emotions try to pull you in every direction. It's easy to stay on track when everything is going your way, but the real test is how you respond when it's not. When life gets messy, when you feel stuck, when progress feels invisible, that's when discipline becomes your best weapon. It's the anchor that holds you in place when the storm hits. It keeps your vision clear when the noise gets loud. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about showing up with whatever you have, doing what you can, and refusing to let excuses win. The days you push through when you didn't feel like it are the days that count the most. That's where confidence is built. Not from achieving the result, but from knowing you're capable of doing hard things. You build discipline the same way you build strength, through repetition. Every time you choose to do the hard thing, you build that mental muscle. Every time you choose to take the high road, stay committed and follow through, you grow stronger. It's not about motivation showing up. It's about you showing up over and over until it becomes your identity. Until you no longer have to push yourself to be disciplined, because that's just who you are now. A person who does the work. A person who doesn't fold under pressure. A person who doesn't negotiate with laziness, weakness, or fear. The power of discipline, it rewires how you see yourself, and it spills into every area of your life. When you master discipline in one area, like your fitness, your time, your mindset, it bleeds into everything else. You stop making excuses. You stop tolerating mediocrity. You start setting boundaries. You start expecting more from yourself. You start realizing that anything you want in life is within reach as long as you're willing to show up for it consistently, whether it's easy or not. Discipline creates freedom. It gives you control over your day, your habits, and your future. While most people are slaves to their impulses, you become someone who leads yourself, who doesn't need to be pushed, reminded, or motivated to move. You don't need perfect conditions to begin. You need to be willing to show up when it's messy, when it's quiet, when it's hard. You need to be willing to build structure where there was once chaos, to create systems where there was once disorder, to form habits where there was once excuses. Discipline is how you bridge the gap between goals and results. It's how you rise from average to excellent. It's how you prove to yourself that you are never lacking potential, only consistency. And once you grasp that, you'll never wait for motivation again, because you'll know the truth. Motivation is fleeting, but discipline is forever. Transformation is not a stroke of luck or a sudden shift. It is a result of the hard choices you make silently, consistently, day after day. It doesn't arrive at your doorstep wrapped in motivation or good fortune. It's built when you make the decision to give up what feels good now for what will feel right later. It's the price you pay every time you push past your doubts, past your fatigue, past your temptations, and do what most won't. Because most people want change, but they don't want to pay for it. They want the results, but not the sacrifice. They want the reward, but not the responsibility. But nothing meaningful comes without cost. You have to pay with effort, with time, with discomfort, with discipline, and that payment must be made daily. And you begin to walk this path with intensity and commitment. You start to separate yourself from your old self. You begin to realize that the future version of you is not built in the loud moments, the wins, the praise, the breakthroughs, but in the quiet ones, in the decisions to keep showing up, in the refusal to settle, in the resilience to keep going when there's no applause, no spotlight, and no immediate reward. You begin to understand that the world may not notice your transformation as it's happening, but that doesn't mean it's not real. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will happen in complete silence with no one watching, and that's exactly why they matter so much. Because you did it without needing external validation. You stop seeking shortcuts because you understand that mastery requires time, that greatness isn't inherited, it's earned through consistency. You begin to value the grind, not just the goal. You fall in love with the process of becoming, with every challenge that tests your character and builds your strength. Because the truth is, who you become in the process is far more valuable than what you achieve. It's not just about reaching a destination. It's about becoming the kind of person who deserves to be there. Someone who earned every step, every scar, every lesson along the way. And the only way to become that person is through hard, invisible work done consistently over time. You start to think differently. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. Gossip, distractions, negativity. None of it has space in your world anymore. You become intentional with your time, selective with your focus, protective of your peace, because you realize that energy is a currency and you only have so much of it each day. You can't afford to spend it on things that drain you or delay your growth. So you become sharper, more disciplined, more aligned. You begin to trust yourself again, not because things are easier, but because you've proven to yourself that you can do hard things. You stop living reactively and start living deliberately. You're no longer just surviving the day, you're designing it. You're not waking up hoping you'll stay on track. You're waking up with a plan, a mission, a mindset that refuses to settle. You're not living for the weekend anymore. You're building a life that doesn't need an escape. That shift alone will change your reality more than anything else. Because when you start showing up like it matters, everything around you begins to change. You recognize that transformation is a lonely path at first. Not everyone will understand. Some people will doubt you. Others will try to pull you back to your old ways. But you stop letting the noise distract you. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking approval. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself deeply enough to keep moving. You know where you're going. You know what it costs. And you're willing to pay it, even if no one else understands why. Eventually, your reality starts to shift. The things you used to wish for become part of your daily life. The struggles you once feared become part of your story. And the person you once dreamed of becoming is the person staring back at you in the mirror. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because you decided to show up differently. It happened because you stopped chasing comfort and started chasing purpose. It happened because you stopped negotiating with your old self and started building your future one powerful choice at a time.